We're
That's your intro to the episode, isn't it? It's just that over black.
well, actually, yeah.
That's amazing.
I'm running the intro as I'm like laughing my ass off right now. Wait, hold on, roll video. Oh, we're here. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Gamer Social Club podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Lockhart, aka One Hot Dragon, aka One Hot Wukong, and I am also joined by oh shit, it's Addy, aka Adam.
Better or for worse.
Wait, what did you say?
I said I'm back for better or for
For
worse.
better, for worse. That's right. We were just talking about how like the last time we did a podcast with Adam, it was like 4 hours, and he's like, it's just gone silent ever since.
Yeah. No one called, no one writes, no one texts. In blacklisted podcast.
Oh man. And then I am also joined by, oh no, he's not a, well, oh shoot, wrong one. Okay. He's not a wizard, it's Harry, aka the Navi-ish of crayfishes. How are you, Harry?
I'm doing great, buddy. How are you, man?
I'm peachy keen. And I am also joined by the best F-bomb dropping guy I know, aka, oh shit, I fucked it up. Alright. Best F-bomb dropping guy I know. Horror for horror, F-bomb Fraser. Hi, buddy.
Hey, man. Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
How you doing?
I'm just fantastic. And
Fucking awesome.
I am also joined by Toot Toot on aboard the emulation station. It's a PC Master Guru here to show off his PC specs. Emphasis on pecs. It's Russell, a.k.a. Casualties of Gaming. Russell, it's been ages. How are you, buddy?
Have I ever told you how that name doesn't really make any sense?
But it just keeps getting better. It's like a piece of cheese. It just every time.
Yes.
It's better than we don't expect. It's better it's just like ignored.
The more you ignore it, the funnier it gets.
Yeah.
I've lived my life.
Start taking my headphones off when he introduces me.
Oh, dude.
Well, we've got a.
We missed you, Russell. It's
Yes,
been
we
too
really
long,
did miss
too
you.
long.
It's been way too long.
Well, I guess it's been like a month, I guess, if you include the break, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we are here today to talk about the Nintendo Switch 2 being finally announced. Diablo 4, well, we'll possibly talk about it. I don't know. We'll see how I'm feeling. Diablo 4 Season of the Witch. PlayStation cancels God of War live service game? What? But first, let me tell you. Oh, I'm on one today, guys. Let me tell you about the Gamer Social Club. The Gamer Social Club is a place where gamers from all around the world come and share their love for video games together in a positive environment. Our goal is to give gamers a platform to share their experiences, to add to the conversation in the games industry, to give more gamers a sense of community, and to bring a little more happiness to your life. Fraser, what game we been playing this month?
Mate. Dude, we're still on Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League.
Hell yeah. And Adam's been killing some Justice League members, haven't you?
Yeah.
I have. Yes.
Yep.
Lights out for Batman, all that sort of stuff. But the
love
Green
it.
Lantern is hanging from upside down, all that sort of stuff.
All the good
The
stuff.
Flash is slowed to a crawl.
Yep. Harry, you've been on it too, haven't you, mate?
Oh well, mate. I've been trying to. I started playing the introduction, the sort of tutorial when you get introduced to playing as all the different characters, and then of course they decided to drop a nice big update. So I've yet to get back to it. So, but once that's finished, it is actually finished now, thankfully. But I'll be able to jump back into it.
You see what they added at the end of the update? Like the whole thing about the pointlessness of Kill the Justice League.
Yeah.
Because they put a little 2-minute like cartoon sketch at the end where everyone's clones and Batman's not dead, and it's like, well, it kind of takes the sting out of the whole point, because I quite like that they went ahead and did it.
Yeah.
But then they're like, oh wait, no, it was all a dream type thing. I was like, come on.
Yeah.
I was the same as you, Eddie. When Harley killed the Batman, I was like, what a weird poetic way to end it all.
Yeah.
Like this, I don't like, and that Arkham Batman he's fucking tough. He is one tough cookie. And to have it all just ended by Harley, like on a park bench in the middle of the city, it just seemed so poetic. And then for them to be like, oh, nah, they was just joking. Gotcha. Haha.
Batman the last
I felt
laugh.
like if you were paying attention, the clone thing was pretty obvious.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you know anything about DC Comics, like I felt like that was pretty clear.
But do you think that was the plan all along, though?
Yes, the clone thing, yes. The Batman thing, I don't know about that, but
because I think in the first season, when you unlock the Joker, you like the season 1.5 or whatever. I think you rescued the Flash. I think that was like, so the split, like each season is split up into two. And so the first part of the season, you unlock the new character. And then the second part of the season, like, carries on the story. So it was always the plan. I'm not quite sure what they were going to do when they got to the end, though. Because there were like 13 worlds. So you had to defeat 13 Brainiacs, which is, what, 6.5 episodes? Well, what were they going to do when you get to the end? Are they just going to be like, oh, there's more. There's 13 more. I got you again. Idiot.
Yeah, I saw Paul Tassi and Destin. I can't remember how you pronounce his last name. I saw them going back and forth on X about this topic and how they were just like, this was planned for like a whole nother year. So imagine waiting 2 years for this. That would be crazy.
Yeah.
they definitely had to rush the ending because anyway.
But I enjoyed it. I'm still loving it. I think my hero scores at like 150 or something. Steve just passed me the son of a gun, so I'm gonna have to jump on and show him who's boss.
A cheeky rascal.
But yeah, we're having loads of fun with that.
Yeah, and so if you want to join in on that conversation, feel free to join the Discord, and let's play some Suicide Squad together. I wanted to watch a movie, but we still have yet to actually like get a like big group together and actually all play it at the same time. But we are going to go ahead and let's see. Let's go ahead and just jump right into the most useless news segment, so that way we can start catching up with each other a little sooner, because it's been a while since we've gotten to catch up with Adam and Russell. So let's dive right into the most useless news segment. Fraser, why is it the most useless news segment?
Well, Nathan, let me tell you. If you followed Gamer Social Club on any of the social medias, the socials that are media, the medias of the socials, you would already know all of this information. Gamersocialclub.ca is the website where you go and find all your latest news and reviews and a whole bunch of Black Myth Wukong guides. I don't know. I don't know where they came from, but they're a lot.
One hot Wukong on the road.
Guide. Right. So yeah. So if you're having trouble with Black Myth Wukong, head on over to the website. There's some guides there for you. Twitter or X, gamer_S_C. And we're testing the blue skies as well to see how that goes with Gamer Social Club. So there, go and follow along. If you want to join the Game of the Month news and stuff, join the Discord, have some fun. I don't know what we're playing next month. We'll figure it out soon.
We'll figure it out real soon.
It's coming up,
already the 17th. All right, so the Nintendo Switch 2 was officially revealed this week in a very non-ceremonial ceremoniously way. So if you've been going to the gamersocialclub.ca, where I'm pulling this article from, we've got a whole bunch of images of it. They're going to be doing a playtest experience with everybody in North America, Europe, Oceania, Asia. The ones in North America are New York, Los Angeles, Dallas, and Toronto. In Europe, there'll be Paris, London, Milan, Berlin, Madrid, and Amsterdam, and then Melbourne, Tokyo, Seoul, and Hong Kong, and I don't know how to pronounce that. Taipei. Anyways, so in this small little announcement trailer, all they basically gave us was that in a Nintendo Direct on April 2nd, so the day after April Fool's Day, so there's no miscommunications, they're going to be dropping a Direct giving us all the information that we want to about that. Guess where you can go to find out all that information. And I'll just let that riddle set in. But basically, the main information we got from this is that there's a kickstand that goes all the way down, kind of slightly tilts up your screen. We know that it's bigger. We don't know by exactly how much, but in the trailer, you can see a comparison from the Joy-Cons we have now to going bigger. It's magnetic. The Joy-Cons are to the tablet. I don't believe it's OLED. We don't know if it's OLED. Aside from that, we don't know a whole bunch of official information about it. And again, we're here to talk about official information. We don't like talking about rumors here on this podcast. If we can stay away from it, we will stay away from it. So I'm going to start out with asking Addy what his thoughts are on this. And what do you think we will see come from this hardware come April 2nd?
It's good. First of all, I think that this feels like a quick. There's so many leaks in this ship. We have to put an official announcement out because it feels like 3 months or whatever before they show us anything else. Seems like a long time. And given they've got these experiences booked in, they clearly were lining up for April. But they just like there's so many leaks going on. They had to do something about it, I suppose. But I thought it was really interesting because there was kind of, I know we don't talk about rumors, but there's in the video you see the kind of Joy-Cons on the ends like a mouse, and there's been a lot of talk about was there going to be like a mouse type functionality type thing, whether it's used as like a mouse or it's used as in like you race your Joy-Cons around. That'd be really cool to see if they're doing new stuff with the Joy-Cons, because obviously one of the things that kind of came over from the Wii was kind of the motion controls, and they really embraced that. You know, you're milking a cow in 1-2 switch and all that sort of stuff. So you're going to be brushing the back of a cow instead and stuff, you know, stuff like that. But I'm kind of keen to see what the hardware bump is, if there is anything. It kind of looks like it's a Sith style switch, doesn't it? It's just like the nuances of color rather than it all being color, which I really like actually.
I like that too.
Yeah.
I hope it's OLED. I hope they're not doing the whole, and the OLED comes in a couple of years, so you all upgrade again. But we know that's probably going to happen. But I hope we get Metroid Prime 4 dates. I hope we get. It looked like a new Mario Kart or an upgrade to Mario Kart 8, but we saw Mario Kart, didn't we? And everyone's like looking at it in all the detail, like there's 24 squares at the starting line and all that sort of stuff. So it'd be cool to see what they do. But I kind of a bit like, who knows? I suppose because Nintendo are law unto themselves, aren't they? They'd be like, "Oh, here's something from 30 years ago that you don't even remember because it was in Japan for 1 day, and it was like we've made it into a thing." And everyone loses their mind because it's Nintendo. But fair play to them for that.
I love. There's that meme going around of Smithers and Lisa and the Malibu Stacy. Have you?
Yes,
Do you remember that episode?
God,
He's like,
but
it's got a new stand. Oh, guys, it's only got a new stand. It's got a new stand. Yeah, I'm here for it.
Yeah. I do wonder if this is just they've just made what that long rumored Switch Pro into a new console though, because like the quality of life stuff that you're seeing, like with the USB at the top and stuff like that, is it like where are they all gonna be what that was gonna be, and then they said let's just make it a new console now. So I'm curious about that.
And then, Harry, what are your thoughts on this whole console and how they've gone about it? It's been very out of the ordinary, even with Nintendo, with how weird it is. Just the way they announced it, and I know they're fighting the whole entire rumors and the leaks and all that stuff, and this is just how they had to go about it. But what are your thoughts and feelings on all this?
Yeah, I think big immediate takeaway from it was that the sort of trailer announcement that we got felt quintessential Nintendo. One of the things I would say about them over everything they've ever done is that they're masters of like auditory feedback. Like everything in that trailer sounded incredible for what it was doing. Every click, every pop, every zip sound or brushing noise against anything, whatever was going on, it all sounded phenomenal. And they're just really good at giving you that sort of auditory sense of like, this is how it's going to feel to hold this thing, to move bits of it around and to press on buttons and all that sort of stuff. They're really good at that, and that's obviously all edited in. That's not actually how it's going to be, but it's a very clever thing they do with the thing like all their advertising, and I think all their game design as well. I think it's a big thing they do. You think of all the little chimes that go off when you're playing their games, opening chests in Zelda, all that sort of stuff. Like they're masters at that sort of like Pavlovian. Like you hear the sound, and your brain immediately is like, "Oh, fun." That they're just kings at that sort of stuff. And so yeah, it was quintessentially Nintendo. But yeah, as Addy said, and as you said, Nathan, that it was very much, I think, a case of their hand being kind of somewhat forced, not because they were like, oh, someone else is going to leak everything, but just a case of like, we need to just get ahead of any other rumors that may start coming out about this that's going to then lead to like a backlash of, oh, it's not what people thought it was going to be, as opposed to like, oh, could it, we're getting those little snippets, let's jump on that, silence everybody to be like, hey, wait till April, and then you're going to hear about stuff, and that will diminish everything, hopefully, for them. But yeah, it's not obviously, maybe, it wasn't ideal. It's not obviously what they had planned, and that's always going to make things run in a strange way, regardless of if it's successful or not. It's still going to feel like there's a bit of a hitch in the system. So yeah, it was a good trailer for what it showed us, which again is not a great deal from my point of view. Obviously, wait to hear what other people think, but yeah, it's intriguing, but it's not made me go like, oh well, whatever, however much money, put me down for two, sort of thing. I'm just gonna wait. Like I think Addy will, and many others will as well.
Well, I was going to wait to get into the price point, but since you bring it up, let's go ahead and talk about the price point. Because see, I'm kind of in the same area as you when it comes to, I haven't been sold yet on, okay, we'll just take my money. What is the price point? And whoever wants to chime in on this. What is the price point that gets you sold on this? Just knowing what you know now, what's the price point that gets you to be like, okay, yeah, I'm definitely going to get a Switch 2?
I'll say real quick. I think hypothetically, if we're looking at a Mario Kart 9 at launch, maybe with another game, hopefully a 3D Mario game or something like that, I would expect it to be $350 for the console. I would imagine about £300. I would imagine something like that, maybe a little bit more, but not. I would imagine they're going to try and stay away from the 400 mark, only because then it's really putting them up with the others and pushing them closer towards Xbox and PlayStation pricing, and they've always been able to hold like somewhat of a gap between them to make it the affordable option as well as the family option and every other one. So I would assume 350, but again, we don't know enough about what the internal upgrades are and many other things. What screen it is. If it's an OLED, that's going to affect the price and things like that. I'm going off of like a basic model idea, I guess. So yeah, that's my prediction.
See, that's what I want as well. Is I do want a $350 price tag, 300 somewhere in that area. I can't imagine they actually successfully do that. I mean, I can't imagine. I would hope so. And this again, this is a question for everybody. If the console's over $400, hell, let's just say it's $500. What does Nintendo? Yeah. What does Nintendo need to do to sell you on this?
Drop the price.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I know that Nintendo generally, I mean, historically, you've always seen a console launch at a higher price, and then traditionally it'll go down over the course of the life cycle because they've made the money back over the cost and the game sales, because more games come out, and then they can bolster the sales through that, and then and obviously chipsets come down and all that sort of thing. But it's not really happened this time, particularly with well, we've seen them go up, haven't we? I think Nintendo's the one who's slightly done that, but not in the same degree as you do have seen in previous generations. I don't know, because the kind of the costing things and things going up has made me think that it's more likely to lean to 400 than 350. The OLED launched at 330, I think, and then so I think it's reasonable to think, oh yeah, 350 for a new machine, but then actually they're just going to go, well, chipsets are getting expensive and inflation and all that nonsense, and then it becomes, oh well, actually we'll go 400, but then you impact your sales. Then it's tricky to pitch, I suppose.
Yeah. How about you, Fraser? Because I know you're definitely like, I'm out over what, 400, $500 price point.
So
I feel like you're the hardest
me,
person to sell it to.
well, it's the exchange rate too is the killer for me because I'm in Australia. So you think essentially the price that you guys are talking about, it's double for me.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about $750 for a Switch 2, that's the same price as a PlayStation 5. That's the same price as a Series X. Like it, and this is just me personally. When I bought my Switch, I used the shit out of it. I played Diablo 3 and I played Animal Crossing. And I was on holiday and I was like, this is great. Like, what a cool idea. I got home, I put it on the stand, and I haven't touched it since. So, like, it, I just, it needs to be cheaper. It needs to be like a lot cheaper. I'm thinking like, if maybe 250. Like,
Yeah.
and it's not. There's no way that it's going to be that
Yeah.
because the other thing is that Nintendo never really goes on sale.
No.
I don't know about
Yeah,
in your
rarely,
countries,
yeah.
but in my country, most Nintendo things stay full price. They might get a 10% discount, maybe. Even secondhand stuff is pretty much the same price as new. So, and for me, Nintendo's not marketed to me and the way the games that I like and the games that I play. But in saying that, we are moving into this handheld generation. I use my backbone and my cloud service every day. But then I went on holiday and I took it with me, and the cloud service isn't available in said country. So that's when the Switch becomes something for me. But then we're looking at like the Steam Deck, and it's just got so much more value for me than something like the Nintendo where I have to buy all the games and it's crazy. And it's the only place that I can like play it.
So yeah, because I mean, you bring up a good point. Is let's say it is $500, $400. I mean, when you've got, because my ROG Ally, it was on sale for $300, and
Oh
that
shit.
plays Black Myth Wukong.
Wow.
That plays all it plays
Wait, does
Every chance.
it plays
Every chance.
it plays Helldivers 2. It plays Halo. It plays all these games. So it does start to beg the question, okay, how does Nintendo hold up? Or do they continue being Nintendo and saying, fuck you, we don't have to do what everybody else is doing. We're going to keep doing our own thing, and people are going to spend a bajillion dollars to keep playing Nintendo games.
And they will.
Yes,
and they do.
100% will.
And that's it. And so it really doesn't matter what I feel or think.
Yep.
I just know that like unless they come out with some like cracker games, I probably won't be getting it.
So, Russell, I know you've got lots of thoughts and feelings about the Nintendo Switch 2. So, you go ahead and take it away. Tell us everything you're feeling about this, because you said you had lots to say.
So, to start out with, you said we don't comment on like rumors and speculation. As far as the specs and the size are concerned, you don't send lawyers to a third-party accessories maker at CES for no reason.
True.
That's not speculation.
True. Yeah.
So if you want to know the size of the screen, I would check Genki's website. Is all I'm going to say there.
Yeah.
That's not
definitely.
and that's been confirmed that happened. People saw that happen. But they didn't have an NDA with Nintendo. How they got the information they got, I have a couple theories. But that's here nor there. I was not shocked.
Shape-shifting lizard people.
Yeah,
They're at it again.
I was not shocked to. I really thought they were going to show it. Now it's typical that like when they do these sort of things on a Wednesday, they'll have an announcement followed by the thing on a Thursday. I think they probably did that just to fuck with people, if we're being honest. The price. No, I'm gonna be a dick here. This isn't a prediction. This is a spoiler. It's gonna be $400.
Think so.
I have a couple reasons for thinking that. One of them we're not going to talk about, but I think Nintendo be Nintendo. And it just makes sense that they could do that because people paid for the Switch OLED. I also think the screen's going to be an LCD. I think that the weird mouse thing you saw in the 2-minute trailer, Nintendo since after the GameCube has always innovated in a certain way, and I think that weird mouse thing is, or whatever it is probably going to be that. Now, will it work out? We'll see. I don't think Nintendo needed to like. I don't think they needed to go like DS style or Wii style or Wii U style and do something like crazy new. Assuming it ends up being a mouse thing like everything's suspecting, I'm kind of surprised that a console hasn't tried to do this. I guess the Series S and X have keyboard and mouse support, but it's extremely limited. Possibly
and it's
just
changed even since then, since they bought that no third party nonsense on their consoles. Like I had a keyboard that I would just used to plug in when I played Warframe. And now I plug it in and half the keys don't work. Like
weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Nintendo will be Nintendo. I will eventually get it. We'll have to see about launch day. I probably won't get it till the first Zelda drops for it. I want to say new Zelda, but honestly, some remasters of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess would probably get me there, which has been rumored for years.
Yeah.
That's my
Twilight
prediction
Princess.
that one of those is going to be one of the launch titles.
I hope so.
Yeah.
It's been rumored
I-
for so long.
I hope that they release them as a package.
Yeah.
And I want to say Nintendo will be Nintendo and sell them both for $60 each, but
Yeah.
that's hard to say because we just got the Donkey Kong Country HD collection thing, and that's got like 3 or 4 games or something in it. But it's Nintendo, and they own our childhoods. At least they own my childhood, so like they have me by the balls there.
Same.
Yeah, so it is what it is. Yeah, I mean that's. I'm sure if I sat here and thought for a couple of minutes, I'm sure there's a couple other things I could say, but there is 1 or 2 things I want to say, but I can't.
Without delving into so many rumors surrounding this thing.
No, it's not just that. I got a weird message here a week or 2 ago. And it's it's been eerily similar to the Fallout London message I got like a week before that like officially dropped and shit. So like I'm trying to since I started writing for the website, I've gotten weird messages, and 90% of the time they're just bullshit. But I will say that this one's becoming a little more truer than I thought it would be. So anyway.
You're such a tease.
Broken Mirror's mystery, intrigue.
Let's move on to some Black Myth Wukong guides.
Can we talk about Black Myth yet? Come on, shut up about Nintendo already.
Will Switch 2 play Black Myth Wukong?
That's all I care about.
Right? Black Myth Wukong is on the Switch 2. We're sold.
Yeah.
I've got a wrong ally. I'm already good, guys. Don't worry about it. But no, and the only thing I'll comment on the Switch 2 stuff is that I am somewhere in between, quite literally on video and metaphorically speaking with the Switch 2 discussion between Fraser and Russell, because Nintendo does own my childhood. Also, I have a ROG ally. Why do I need this? So finding the willpower to delve into my pockets and spend this kind of money on something that does end up spending, it does collect a lot of dust in my household. The problem is that they do own my childhood, and anytime I have guests over, it is the worst thing in the world when somebody comes to your house and they say, I want to play Mario Kart. And you're like, sorry, bro, I don't have a Switch. Like, you might as well just go jump off a bridge in America, okay? Like, what are you doing? Like,
What do you mean you don't have Mario Kart? You call yourself a human?
I've got the Nintendo 64 still. We can grab some bean bags and, use the wired controllers. But honestly,
Switch, they just did Mario Kart. You're fine. Bang out those 4 controllers. You're good.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Like, honestly, I'm more interested in getting the analog 64 this year over to Switch 2. But because I sold my Switch, that's the only reason. If I didn't have my Switch still, I would just be like, I'm good. But the fact that I got rid of my Switch, and it is the thing of it doesn't drop in price, I would feel a little bit better about putting my money into it on release day. That is the one upside. It's kind of like, it's a double-edged sword, right? It's that thing of, this is overpriced, this is expensive, I don't feel like it's worth the money. But then when you do actually put the money in it, you're like, well, hey, at least I know it's not really decreasing in value that much. And that's the thing that's always kind of helped me fork out the money for a game that I know I'm not really going to be playing that much. I'm just like, well, hey, at least I know that when I go to upgrade to the next Nintendo console, I'm going to get $60 out of this game to upgrade to the newer version, or I'm going to get $40. Honestly, it's crazy. I mean, talk about Mario Kart 8, am I right? But I'll go, that's all I really have to add to that conversation. If I talked anymore, I would just be reiterating what you all have said. So let's go.
I'm gonna, Nathan, I'm gonna cut you off for 1 second. I will say there was that disclaimer about backwards compatibility and some games not working. I do think that that's going to end up being limited to Ring Fit Adventure and that Labo crap.
Yeah, I'm just like every other previous Nintendo console. So I definitely wouldn't let that stress y'all out. Let's go ahead.
I think also, I think one last thing as well, just because obviously, like Russell mentioned as well, like people obviously do look for like the gimmick thing in Nintendo and stuff like that. I think also people do have to also remember that they are someone who iterates. You just have to look at their handheld portfolio. That's literally what they did with the handheld, was just iterate. Everyone, Game Boy Color, Game Boy, SP or Advance SP, and then onto the DSs. And some of those obviously had the gimmicks with the 3D and stuff like that, but eventually they were like, we released the 3D. Oh, some people didn't like the 3D. Make a 2D one. Make one that doesn't fold. Make one that does fold. They just produce a variety basically to fit whatever need is there when it comes to that range. And I could see the Switch 2 being that in this example, instead of it being we're jumping from the N64 to the GameCube to the Wii to the Wii U to the Switch. Now it's just this is Nintendo's iteration on this as opposed to a reimagining, I think, more than anything else. I think, like we've said, like Addy mentioned, I think earlier, it's more than likely this is closer to what we would have thought of as a pro than a full, okay, let's go with like a whole new project, start from scratch, back to the drawing board sort of thing.
Does anybody have anything else they want to add in before we move on to the PlayStation topic?
I had, but then I completely forgot what it was that I was going to say. So.
Or like in the middle of talking about PlayStation, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, I do that all the time."
Harry said though about the iteration, though, I think that's bang on because the Switch has been such a success for them, compared to like with the Wii U, and I think that part of that was the whole naming thing as well. Like, you know, there's a lot of conversation. Is it going to be called the Super Nintendo Switch? Which for us would have been lovely. I think like we'd all would have loved that. I would have loved that.
Oh yeah.
But for the consumer, they would, because like that with the Wii U, people. I remember when I was working in a game store, people were buying Wii U game thinking it would work in the Wii just because it had the title Wii in it. So very clearly calling it a Switch 2 is very clear that it's not the same thing.
To be fair with the Wii thing and the Wii U thing, like there was a little bit more to that than just the name. The fact that the consoles looked as close as they did, like that didn't help anything either.
No, but the Switch and the Switch 2 look very close as well.
Yeah, but I think that the name this time around has kind of like, okay, well, this is they've been. And the Super Switch, for us that grew up in the 90s, that would probably be pretty like, well, duh, it's a new console, but maybe for, people a little younger, maybe not so much.
Yeah.
Also, Switch 2 sounds more like Switch Pro. You know what I mean? Like the whole Super Switch sounds more like Switch Pro. That
makes
that's
more
what I meant.
What you said the first time didn't make any sense, but
sorry. We're talking about a lot of switches here. There's a lot of different types of switches.
The moral of the story is that Xbox needs to be taking notes.
They need to bring back the Kinect.
Well, I mean, if this was Xbox,
that conversation, absolutely.
Where did that come from?
Connect 2.0. Connect another day.
If this was Xbox, we'd get a release date of May, and then we might see it in December. So
and then 10 years down the track, people will be like, "Fuck, do you remember that cool thing that Xbox did? I wish they did that now."
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Ahead of that time.
All right, so we are moving on to the PlayStation cancels live service again. Or games. I am going to the same website as before. Can you guess which one it is? I'll leave that riddle in your cooking in your brain. So there.
Those Riddler trophies from Suicide Squad.
I haven't touched them. I don't want to.
You need to find them bloody Arkham games, aren't they? Oh,
You're-
there it is. Bang.
Yeah. You're gonna have to pay me to deal with that. So Sony's canceled a couple of live service games from two different subsidiaries, Blue Point and Ben Studios. So I guess we finally know what Blue Point's been working on and Ben Studios, which kind of honestly is, for me personally, the biggest takeaway and like the biggest that really sucks to hear. This is what they've been working on. But Jason Schreier broke this over at Bloomberg. And let's see, these two titles being developed by two different studios whose previous releases have been predominantly single-player games were part of an ongoing strategy of Sony's to focus on live service. In a memo sent to Bloomberg, Sony said that they were working closely with the Bend and Blue Point studio to determine what their next projects and plans were to do everything we could to ensure there is minimal business impact. These cancellations come not that long after abysmal launch of Sony's last foray into live service games like Concord. Never heard of it. Concord is now closed, and then they had the multiplayer for Last of Us Part 2 that got canceled. It's hard to say that these cancellations were due to Sony's lack of confidence in the projects and Blue Point were working on, or larger shift away from their live service plans. Both Fair Games and Haven Studios and Marathon from Bungie are still being developed. So there's at least 3 that we know of, live service wise, that Sony's still got in the oven out of the 11, 12.
Wow.
And, that was another article we covered this week about the Horizon game multiplayer. They're hoping to bring in, it's either 1 million players or $1 million. Yeah, 1 million players with that. So that's something I would also like to throw in there as far as, like, I want to talk about what you guys think that Horizon game could look like. But Blue Point's last game was the Demon Souls that came out with the PlayStation 5, and then Sony Ben's last game was Days Gone, which, really sucks that they didn't have a second shot at that one. Did I tell you guys I met Sam Witwer? Anyways, with both these studios starting from scratch on new projects, it's quite likely that we won't see or hear anything on either of them for a few more years. Russell, take it away. I know you got lots to say about this as well, so I want you to start us off with this.
Before I start ranting, I mean, I guess this starts the rant. I will remind everyone that these 2 studios are not the size of Insomniac. I would not expect a new game from either one of these studios till probably the PS6 at this point. Maybe something comes out and it turns out that, like, they had small dev teams on different projects or something, but like Insomniac, when their multiplayer game got canceled, they had I want to say I'd have to look it up. I think they're around like 800 or 1,000 people. Like, there's a lot of people that work at Insomniac. So them having multiple projects in the oven, I would not be surprised if there's a team that's working with The Last of Us Part 3 amongst the Last of Us multiplayer, and then this new game, the something Heretic. The name's escaping me. So I wouldn't be surprised about that. As far as these games go, particularly this God of War multiplayer, I've been trying to think about how I can ask this nicely. I can't. Who the fuck asked for this? Whose idea was this? And maybe short of being like a PoE, like ARPG style game, like I can't imagine what this would have been. And that would have been a far cry from what the games have been. Were we just gonna get multiple iterations of Kratos to play as? Were we gonna be buying pink versions of the Chaos Blades? What was this? Like, I don't get. So track with me here. The Last of Us multiplayer made sense. There's already been a multiplayer. We can imagine what that was going to be like. Twisted Metal has definitely never been a live service game, but that would just be a Twisted Metal game, basically. Yeah. You would just be limited to the multiplayer, I would think. I even think I shudder to say this out loud. Mario Kart would lend itself to being a live service game. Nintendo, don't get any fucking ideas. But stuff like that lends it. I just don't know what what would a God of War live service game even look like? Like, even a Horizon game, I can kind of imagine that in my head, to be honest. Even a series like that's been, well, it's only been 2 games if you don't count remasters and remakes. But I don't. Do any of you guys have any idea what this would look like?
My only thoughts could have been how they kind of have gone with like Space Marine 2. Like, it's not really live service, but it kind of is, where it's like a PvE experience of 3 or 4 players, and you just run through missions together and unlock stuff. It's the only thing. What would a multiplayer God of War be? I can't even think about it.
Well, I don't know if you could, like, I guess what I was trying to think about what that could look, because I was trying to think what because I guess my argument was we had a chat in the Discord, and I was like, they must have had something, an idea, because if you're just going to, you know, as Russell says, just slap loads of skins on the Chaos Blades and play as pink Kratos and blue Kratos and stuff, it's not, no one's buying that, are they? So what were they running with? And I'd be really interested to see what that is. And I guess in my head, were they trying to create something like the idea of Halo Infinite, that you'd have ever expanding world and play, so it's one place you play instead of having multiple iterations of a game, that because the cost of AAA development gets increasingly high and it takes a long time to develop a God of War Ragnarok or whatever else, they say, we've got the engine, here's the base game, and then we keep adding, we add Egypt, we add, you know, we go back and add those new worlds to go into and explore. Now, if you're playing as Kratos and Atreus, and I forget the Yggdrasil, is it you play as, or whoever it was, who Atreus runs around with in, I can't remember the name of it, but like with the different abilities and stuff like that. So are you playing as
Angaboda,
those?
the giant girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. And like you play as those. Do you play as those characters, and then you're exploring the worlds and you do stuff together? That's what I kind of, again, just pulling it out of nothing, what I could see is it being, because you could add completely new things to that and bring in those different gods and worlds and stuff, because there's so much lore, and who doesn't want to take on Jesus, right? And like it's just whatever it might be. So like, I just wondered if that was going to be what they were thinking. But obviously,
that works. That could work.
but
Absolutely.
there's so much cynicism around live service games, like because everyone's chasing the Fortnite dragon and they want in the quick look at all the money we make, and they're not like with Suicide Squad or, you know, anything like that. You fall off because they're not innovating in the game. My criticism of Suicide Squad is it doesn't matter which character you're playing, they all jump and they've got a gun. It's like, it doesn't matter. You could swap any of those characters in the DC universe out, they're pretty much the same apart from the narrative, because they're all just shooting. Like, why you all just got a gun? They've got so much variety you could bring to the gameplay, but they're just, and again, it's just a bit lacking in that originality or innovation. And I think that trying to make a quick buck is that kind of, it fringes on that, and everyone becomes so cynical of live service games that as soon as somebody says live service, like, fuck that, no one wants it. It's like, well, I mean, maybe I'm being naive. I did think they must have had something to spend 5 years working on it. Like, if they released that Demon's Souls remake when the PS5 released, bar any like patching and stuff like that, they would have been working on a new project for 5 years, maybe more. And you're like, that, I can't imagine what the morale must be at that team when you get that cancelled, because you're like, well, fuck.
Yeah.
Just, you know what I mean? I don't know. What do you guys think?
It's there's a lot to this, I think, because it's not just about these two studios and these two games and the other ones we've mentioned. As we said, you know, this was a plan. This was a whole thing set into motion several years ago by a different man leading PlayStation. I don't mean to lay it all at his feet, but he was the man at the top at the time, Jim Ryan. This was his, you know, push. This is what he wanted to see happen. I think, you know, that they were noticing all these live service games with, you know, raking in all the money, and as much as they had all these single player, you know, award-winning titles, that was clearly a slice of the pie that they wanted. Now, I completely understand that, and I think it's something that obviously other companies have been able to do who are interested in it, and some have been really successful with it. I think Xbox is an example of that, where they've got probably the most live service games under their belt that they're able to keep all going successfully. You know, I don't think anybody else really does that. Most of them just have the one that they do. You know, Activision, for example. I mean, yeah, and when I'm talking about Xbox, I'm not even including like Fallout 76 and stuff like that. I'm talking about like Sea of Thieves and Grounded and things like that. You know, the ones that they designed under their own studios and things like that they had in house, as it were. So they've got a better grasp, I think, where they can make those sort of things happen, with whether it's with pre-existing IPs, new IPs, whatever it is they feel they can do. They, I think, have a better understanding of where they can fit that in. The idea that the approach to this from PlayStation was quite possibly have as many studios make live service titles as soon as they can, sort of thing. Not rush it, but, you know, make proper games, but they're all going to be live service, or as many of them are going to be live service. Did you plan to support 6+ live service games across several different genres. Did you plan to capitalize off of like the racing live service, the shooter live service, the RPG live service? Like, that was never going to happen. I'm sorry, that sounds to me like an impossible dream to me. I can see you getting game of the year, year after year with your God of Wars, your Last of Us, your Horizons, all of Ghost of Tsushimas. They make sense to me because the market can support that. No one can support that many live service games. So the fact that we had so many of them in development is mind-boggling to me. That makes so little sense to me when you look at the broad scope of what was quite possibly going to be the future for PlayStation. And now, of course, we have, you know, the sort of the single example of where they've been successful with it, where they weren't even really in control of it, which was Helldivers 2, obviously, with Arrowhead. Arrowhead did their thing for a decade, and they made it work, obviously. But the idea then that you approach everybody else and say, can you figure out a way to do this? And it could have been that Bluepoint said, yeah, actually, we've got an idea. We want to run with it. Like, we've thought about this. And actually, yeah, we really like working with other people's IPs. And we watched what you did with Ragnarok with that really cool expansion, like free expansion you did with the roguelike thing. And that's really got our brains fizzing. And we all got an idea. Great. That's really good. But maybe then don't have everybody else doing this, like other live service titles as well. Like, you know, not all your chickens, you know, not all your eggs in one basket sort of situation, I feel is really what it comes down to here. You know, that's the crux for me. And now you have all these cancellations. We've already had one studio close down because of it. I don't think Bluepoint's in trouble. I think Bluepoint will probably suffer from layoffs, unfortunately. I think this is likely what's going to happen. They've said they'll try their best, but that's always what they say in order to then cushion the fact that it's going to happen. I fear for Bend. I don't think Bend will survive this, sadly. I don't think that's their fault. I think, unfortunately, that they have had a really, really tough time of it. Everything that happened with Days Gone and like the sort of like the partial split in the studio and stuff like that happened and everything like that. You know, and clearly then working on this for so long and then it going kaput. If we're not seeing another game from these guys until PS6, we wouldn't have seen a game from them for over a decade, probably. And there's not many studios that can do that.
I hadn't really thought of that. That's a really good point. And to go a decade without seeing a game from a studio whose last game was not received well. Yeah, I haven't seen that happen before. Doesn't matter what
it happens
studio
very rarely.
Or who it's from. I've never seen that.
Yeah, it happens very rarely that a studio will have titles that come out that sporadically, unless they are part of a system where that's happening. Like Nintendo will probably have studios that work on things for years and years and years and years, and they don't worry about them then coming back for another half a decade or whatever. But other than maybe like Ueda, you know, who just recently announced another game, and his last one was The Last Guardian, you know, that came out in the PS4 generation. You know what I mean? Like, only he's one of the Gen Engine, his studio, they're one of the few examples, or Gen Design, sorry, I think it's called Gen Design. His studio is an example of one where they'll just disappear. And then they'll be like, oh yeah, we've got a game idea. And everyone's just like, brilliant. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be a work of art because you've just got this whole thing going on that lots of people love. And we just want more of it, but you give it out in such small amounts that we'll patiently wait for the next one and see what that is all about. But yeah, with the PlayStation thing, as I said, I'm worried about Bend. I think they might be the next for the chopping block, and I do not say that with any amount of pleasure whatsoever. I enjoyed Days Gone. I thought it was great fun. There is issues with that game. It's not the ones that people tend to get upset about. There are other issues with it, but otherwise it's a great game. A lot of fun. Love the mechanics and all the rest of it, but I don't think it's long for them. And I feel for every studio now on the PlayStation, because you know that every other studio that's either working on a live service game like Haven or Bungie, who now are fully under PlayStation's control, are now all going, shit, what the hell? What do we do? We succeed or what? What's our future?
But that's the thing is, like, even in the live service business, just succeed. I mean, honestly, in the video game industry, succeeding doesn't mean shit anymore. What can you do to avoid closures? I don't think anybody knows that answer.
I think like even games now that sell well lead to closures.
Yeah.
Even games that are accepted and critically acclaimed, like people are like, oh, I don't want that. And then you see things that burst out of nowhere, like this new Marvel live service that it's taken over. Everyone is playing this game. I never saw that coming. Why has this model worked when another model hasn't? We've seen paid for live service games that haven't worked. We've seen free live service games that haven't worked. We've seen paid for live service games that have worked. And then it just seems to be things like Diablo that works as a live service game because people keep coming back for it. People are playing it anyway, so more content is always great. Again, like I always talk about Warframe, but like Warframe's been around for 15 years or some shit, and they're still going, and it's still free. And and then you see things like Concord didn't work. All right, why? Who knows why that didn't work? And then we've got Marvel. Is it Marvel Rivals? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Marvel Rivals,
I haven't even played it yet, but like I just see all you guys playing it, and it's not my jam.
Yeah.
But like again, it's a hero shooter.
Yeah.
We had a hero shooter with X Defiant. Why didn't that work? Is it because people love superheroes? Is that the fact?
Well, I think there's something about the known IP, isn't there? You get to play as all of your really famous characters that are supported by like a decade and odd of movies and all that sort of stuff. And people are like, yeah, I get to play Spider-Man. That's immediately you can you recognize it. I think like similar with Diablo, I suppose. That Diablo obviously didn't start as a live service thing and it evolved into that, but because it's got a strong IP that people know, and maybe that's what they were thinking with the God of War thing. If you attach their idea to an unknown IP, like I don't really care. But if I like God of War. God of War's a big seller. It's an IP that's existed for 30 years. Maybe that's got some credence to people pick it up and give it a go, and actually it'll bring people in. Maybe that's what they were thinking. But
who knows? Like, sorry, Russell.
Go ahead, Fraser. Go ahead.
I was just going to say we're in such a time of uncertainty at the moment of everything. Every single thing that comes out, everyone seems to hate. And like, I don't know, like at some point we got to start liking things and we got to start playing things.
What we've got to remember is the people who hate things on Twitter aren't everybody.
Yeah.
Because
They are the loudest though.
They're the loudest though, and you associate everyone's thinking that way. And a lot of the people are the people who just pick it up and play it and never talk about it to anyone. Like, that was great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sorry, Russell. Carry on, mate.
No. All I was gonna say is the God of War thing is still puzzling to me because like I've played them since the first one. I haven't beaten all of them. I don't Ragnarok must be the first one that you got to play as anyone but Kratos because I've beaten 2018, but I don't remember. You didn't get to play as Atreus in 2018, did you? I don't think you did.
Spoiler alert! Turn your ears. Yeah, I'm pretty sure at one point you do play as Atreus, like just for a small
it's a short sequence.
Yeah,
maybe.
It's just a small thing.
Yeah, Kratos has got a sore foot.
So keep in mind before that you have God of War 1, 2, and 3, and then you have both games that released on the PSP. So you had 5 games where you played as no one but Kratos. So I don't. They have so many other franchises that would have lended themselves to. Again, I'm beating a dead horse. The Last of Us multiplayer would have lended itself to it. I think Horizon in a way lends itself because you start out, at least in the first one. I haven't played the second game, but I beat the first one. You start out with a tribe of people, so it makes sense. Maybe they have warring tribes in it. Maybe you're just in the tribe and you get to play as multiple different characters and you're just fighting the robot dinosaur things. I don't know. That could lend itself. Hell, Days Gone could have lended itself to a multiplayer. That for me, that wouldn't be super hard to imagine, and that's without getting into like the loads of other games that they haven't done anything with in who knows how long. The Twisted Metal. I hate live service games. I was hyped about that because that made sense to me.
Well, see, a lot of these like multiplayer things, they used to just be an add-on to a cool single-player game, and all like I played through the Tomb Raider trilogy early last year. That's got a multiplayer, and it's actually really fun. It's weirdly
it's a
fun.
lot of fun. Yeah.
But like that got nothing. No one cares about a Tomb Raider multiplayer. So it's just an add-on to the game that, if you want to play it, there's more if you want. And then they've taken that idea and they've like started dumping money and time into making a Tomb Raider multiplayer game that no one wants.
Shout out to Crysis 2, one of the most underrated multiplayers. But go ahead, Russell.
I was just gonna say, just regular online multiplayers as an extension of like any game. I guess maybe the WWE 2K games, but let's shelve sports games for a minute. I don't know that there's any game like a Spider-Man or anything that just releases and just has like an online multiplayer component, and it just is. Yeah. There's always a live service component, or if there isn't a live service, you've got some sort of digital store where you buy something. Yeah. It's not just like, oh, The Last of Us released and here's a cool online multiplayer you can play with it. You don't have to, but it's there. Like, you don't really get that anymore.
And that is the tricky thing. I think I can't remember if it was you, Russell, or Harry who commented it, that what is a live service game, and it is that thing of people hear live service and they're like, oh, I'm out. This is an immediate turnoff. But so many things classify as a live service. It is the thing of, well, FIFA, I know you said I'm not even bringing sports games into it, but like FIFA, right? You buy, it's got a store. It's automatically live service. So even the smallest things.
Forza Horizon live service?
Forza Horizon is a live service game. So it's like not all live service games are evil. I think people hear that and think evil, but that's definitely not the case. But the thing that I want to chime in on before we bounce out of here is Fraser asked the question, why do games like Marvel Rivals make it and not Concord? Why do games like Marvel Rivals make it and not X-Defiant? So I played Concord. I played Marvel Rivals. I did not play X-Defiant. Now, I've heard Fraser talk plenty about it, and I know enough about X-Defiant to know what it is. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but what X-Defiant is, it is your foundation of a basic first-person shooter game. Not necessarily any new game modes that make it stand out from the others, but its big selling point, like Adam said, was its IP, and it wasn't strong enough, especially up against Marvel Rivals. Am I wrong there when I say any of that?
I think that's right. But what they had planned, did you see what they dumped on X-Defiant in the last update?
No.
With the you talk about new game modes and IP. They released like a Rayman level because it's Ubisoft. They released a Rayman level, Assassin's Creed characters.
Oh, that's cool.
They did like they did like a lum hunt mode where you're collecting the lums from Rayman in this map, and then you're killing the guys, and whoever's got the most lums at the end win. And they had all this mapped out for like 8 seasons or whatever else.
Man.
But because
that actually sounds really cool.
Yeah, it does.
They just dumped it all into X-Defiant in the last update. It's there. You can play it. But it's just like, give it the chance to kind of establish and be there and support it. And it's just... I mean, maybe they should have led with that earlier, but,
I think X-Defiant... Maybe Fraser can chime in on this. From what I've heard about X-Defiant, X-Defiant's a little bit different. I've heard X-Defiant was doing okay or well. That may have just been hamstrung by the fact that it's an Ubisoft game, and Ubisoft as a whole is not doing very well right now.
And I believe it was only on Epic.
Well, yeah, that's another. No one from Steam. Me and Fraser had that conversation. A bunch of people on Steam are just not going to buy things off of Epic. There's a lot of PC players that hate Epic games as a whole. So,
but but on the other end of it, when it comes to Concord versus Marvel Rivals, I think a lot of people aren't giving Marvel Rivals its credit due when it comes to they do put it on the IP quite a bit, where, oh, well, Marvel Rivals wouldn't succeed without that IP. There are plenty of Marvel Avengers games that, Marvel's Avengers for one, but there are a lot of Marvel games that don't necessarily take off. Even Midnight Suns just did super okay. I don't know if it's Square Enix, so to sit there and say Square Enix thought of it as a failure, it doesn't really say much because they think all their games are failures. So it's kind of hard to.
Didn't meet expectations.
Rivals
none of
wouldn't
it.
be Marvel Rivals if it wasn't for the superheroes. Like it wouldn't be that game; it'd be something else. And so like definitely the style of the game just definitely determines that.
So,
but like just back to that, like what we're talking about, just really quickly, the how games having like tacked on modes. Like, do you remember like the original Zombies on Call of Duty? How it was just like tacked on at the end of the credits of the campaign, and then look where it is now. And then there were talks of like standalone zombies. I don't know if I'd buy standalone zombies. Like, I'm happy where it is as part of Call of Duty. Like if they split the multiplayer, the campaign, and zombies into 3 separate games, I wouldn't buy 3 separate Call of Duties.
If they did it'd have to be like a $30, $40 game.
That's the thing for me as someone who loves Call of Duty but will not play the multiplayer because I will not have fun. I'm bad at it. I do not want to have that experience. I don't need to be reminded that I'm bad at it. I will buy a campaign and I will buy zombies. So if you're giving me the option to not buy multiplayer and buy the other 2 for a different price, like £30, £20, £20 for the multiplayer, whatever, however it is, and I'm literally like, you don't get access to the multiplayer content, and there's like cool crossover content between them or whatever, I don't get to enjoy that, fine. That's fine. I would be open to that, but it would have to be done that way. I wouldn't be happy with like a sort of some sort of like piecemeal type thing, especially if it was like, oh, we're going to release the campaign first and then the zombies is going to come out in 6 months. I'm like, no, just release them all together and let me buy whichever ones I want. That I'd be cool with.
You do run the risk of it getting a bit predatory, though, doesn't it? If you start doing that, like everyone's like the whole criticism about that's DLC that they've just cut out of the game. They start doing it with game modes that they would have put in 10 years ago, whatever else. It's a risky business, I suppose.
Well, I mean,
absolutely,
even with Marvel Rivals, I think the thing that makes it stand out amongst the rest, the thing that just not even just as a Marvel game, but as a hero game as well. I think you could take both. You could take both categories and say, okay, well, as a Marvel game, it appreciates each individual character for what it's able to do. Like, Adam talking about Suicide Squad, right? How, you've got all these different unique characters who could be, but they're all just given guns. And yet, and I think that was the fear for me, was going into Marvel Rivals and being like, so what are we going to do? Just give Spider-Man a gun? No, they do a great job of making Spider-Man feel like Spider-Man, of making Wolverine feel like Wolverine. Yeah, Wolverine might not be that great, but he feels like Wolverine. And all of these players interact with each other and talk with each other during these multiplayer matches in a way that makes you feel like you're in the Marvel world. To not so much like, oh, hey, here you go, you got a Wolverine skin. No, it's like, this is, I know I've talked about it before, but this is Yuri Lowenthal as Spider-Man. This is the X-Men dude who plays X-Men from 97 playing as Wolverine. There's an appreciation for what these characters are, not just simply, we bought the IP, here we go. Also, and then as a shooter game, as the element of it, let's just strip it of its IP. It is an extremely solid experience. Just like Concord. I think the failure is the fact that you got Overwatch that's free. Why would I play why wouldn't I play Overwatch or Valorant or all these other games, or Destiny 2 for that matter, which Concord was compared a lot to? Why would I pay $40 to play Concord when I could play these other games for free? So it's like Marvel Rivals is this brand new game that's not only based off of a big IP, but also it's offering you a solid brand new shooter experience that, no pun intended, literally rivals the other games such as Overwatch. So I think it really just came in swinging because of that. Its staying power is what I'm happy to see happen. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Addy?
I was just saying, it's like you keep swinging in, so that you like Spider-Man said, always intend your puns, you coward.
Yeah, right.
Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and wrap our new segment there. Thank you all. We're about an hour and 10 minutes. Stay tuned. We're going to drop our Hangout episode. We're going to record that up next. And then next week, we'll be back at it again. Keep your eye out, because you may just see Fantasy Critic on your timeline feed or subscription feed. So make sure you're subscribed so you can get notified whenever that if and or maybe Fantasy Critic video drops. So until then, make sure to check all the stuff in the comments. Sorry, my brain farted. All the links in the comments. Join our Discord. Check out the website. Like and share. All that good stuff. But anyways, thank you all so much. We will see you next week.
Bye.
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 We're on screen.